Hi, my name is EJ LeBlanc. I'm a former English teacher and instructional systems designer, and today we'll be talking about how the grass is not always greener. So, on the interwebs, I'm seeing a lot of teachers talking about leaving the teaching profession and going into the instructional systems design profession. As an instructional systems designer, at first I thought, hey, let me share my thoughts on my own personal journey. But the more I read the comments and the more I hear and listen to uh, what people are saying in regards to leaving the teaching profession and jumping into instructional systems design, I have some warnings. And that is can be summed up quite simply in this: the grass is not always greener. So it could look like, man, you see all these instructional design consultants, and it can be very lucrative. It can be something that far more lucrative than I ever even would have dreamed possible as an English teacher. However, there's been a lot of tough moments. Um, and so I thought it best to just share tough moments that I've had before, and then tough moments as an English teacher, tough moments that I've experienced as uh, an instructional systems designer. So, starting with the Navy, I shared this story in a previous video that was very indicative of just how rough it is. I say rough, I mean, it's sailors talking to each other, sailors mistreating each other. Um, it's a regular thing in the military, and anyone that's been in the military, you just gotta suck it up. You just gotta, it's part of the culture to kind of bash each other emotionally or whatever, verbally in every sort of way, and that's just par for the course. And then, so that's part of the reason why whenever I became a teacher, it was not a big deal that my colleague, my friend, and I, he's actually like my best friend and was the best man at my wedding. We both went together to this low socioeconomic school for our internship, for a teaching internship, and this was the school in Duval County that it was one step away from jail for the kids that got sent to this particular school. And so we had our internship there, and it was intense. It was uh, very arduous. My directing teacher, we had difficulties. Uh, it's a very long story, but I had to drive an hour and a half there, and then an hour and a half back. Would after working a 10-hour day at that location without pay, right? Like without like that's just the internship. Um, and so that particular part of my college was by far the most difficult part of the college experience, mostly because of the kids. The kids were, the kids, I loved so many of them, and I loved teaching, and had some really great moments that were there where I felt like we had some really amazing breakthroughs. However, had one kid that had been to jail numerous times already, had failed the seventh grade multiple times, probably should have been a sophomore or a junior at that point, was far bigger than most of the other kids, and was just it was just a very tough kid. And so he uh, at one point held I was walking around and I had my hands in my pockets, trying to avoid the interfering with the directing teacher's lesson, because she was very, very controlling in that environment. And so I was walking around, circulating, and seeing the students work, trying to get to know the students. It was very early on in the internship, and quick as a whip, a student had a pencil to my throat, and I looked at the student. He was looking me in the eyes, and it was very clear that he was letting me know that at any point he could take me out. And we had a moment where we just like looked at each other and understood what was going on. And uh, that was a very difficult internship. Later on, he removed himself as a threat to me by taking a 10-inch knife to school, backpack full of drugs, and was taken to jail again. So the internship that was, but and that was not, but anything remotely close to the most difficult thing that I endured at that particular internship. Uh, so even getting a job as an English teacher, it was an ordeal as itself and unto itself. Um, and then whenever I was talking about the last video about getting in trouble a lot, I got in trouble a lot. However, even at the worst, whenever even at that moment that they banned Romeo and Juliet, and I said I'm not coming back next year, and even in some things that I talked about drama that got worse after that, the administration that I was teaching with was there with me every step of the way, and research shows that it's the administrators in a school that makes the biggest difference at the success of a school at any level. You want your teacher to be successful, you got to have successful administrators who foster a positive climate of learning. As Gary Rumler says, if you put a good person in a bad system, the system will win every time. Fortunately, even at the worst of the moments where I was teaching at, I had solid backing. Even though we didn't agree, the administration at that school had my highest respect. They fought for me and allowed me to transition. And without their backing and without their support in some of those critical moments, there's no way that I would be where I'm at today. I really appreciated that administrative support. Later on, I was working with the Coast Guard, and I mentioned how great it was to be able to go flying and how amazing it was to be able to go take pictures and do all of the things I was doing, make amazing e-learning experiences, do amazing videos, make XML-based PDF forms, all sorts of stuff. And in what the environment I was first working at while I was there, the branch chiefs for the performance technology division would show up to me and say, "Hey," if they would say, "Hey, we've got this problem, Blanc. Go solve it. Here's a problem. Here's your tools. Go for it." And I'd say, "Hey, I need this and this and this," and they'd say, "Here you go," and I'd go forth and conquer with their help. And what do you know? We'd be successful, and they'd say, "Hey, make this video," and I'd say, "Sure." And they'd say, "Hey, make this e-learning." I said, "I've never made e-learning using this tool before," and it was very difficult. And then we complained about that particular tool, got another tool, all sorts of other good stuff, and all sorts of amazing things happened in that context. But wouldn't you know it, the management change and that job went from one of the best in my career to one of the worst in my career. And the thing that changed was the leadership at the top. And we clashed, like my whole way of being of, hey, let me listen and find problems and solve the problems, clashed with this management that said you will follow your exact job description, do exactly what you're told, and all sorts of politics later. I had to go out the door, and fortunately, I was, very providentially was provided for, and I was able to start working, remotely from home, and I was able to work in a much, much better professional context, and got to work for Disney and a lot of other really cool stuff that happened at that moment. Started working for a lot more commercial work through Harcon, and all sorts of really good things happened. However, I also was churning and burning because I was just trying to really meet mission on several of the projects that we had. And there was one project in particular where critical stakeholders weren't there at the beginning of the project. And because you know, we didn't do a proper needs analysis at the very beginning. Uh, Lots of reasons for that, not any one individual's fault, but because we didn't start right, it became this nightmare of a project. I had to work 2 years of my life where I was getting basically 4 hours of sleep a night, just churning and burning, working all sorts of hours, a ridiculous amount of hours on those particular, for that particular customer. And I learned a lot. I did the voiceover work, I did the graphics, I did the videos, I did the e-learning, the programming, the LMS management, the LMS establishment, the getting the Moodle installed onto the Amazon Web Services, all sorts of stuff, and then customizing Moodle. Oh my gosh, customizing Moodle, and then it got to the point where we had to hire another programmer and some other stuff that happened in between. Like I said, 2 years of my life, but what do you know? That customer is now the world's leading mobile forensic training provider. It was a success, but it came at such a great cost. I certainly burned out, and even had to, work. There are times where I was working so hard during that moment where we would have, staff meetings at like 4 in the morning. Uh, you know, and we were in the same time zone. It wasn't like I was having a conversation with someone in Israel or trying to work with someone in India. It was, which I have done, and I have had meetings at late at night, specifically to support those clients and meet with those collaborators. Uh, there was one particular uh, project where the programming staff was in India, and they were, critical partners in customizing a learning management system for a totally different customer. So yeah, I've stayed up and had weird meetings when working with global partners. However, we were in the same time zone and having meetings at 3, 4 in the morning. Ridiculous, completely insane, and that led to me burning out. But yet, that is not anything close to some of the worst things as an ISD that I've experienced. I was working with one customer, and completely different. This is much later on, and I've one of the great things about being a freelancer is you have so many different clients that you could start talking about them, and you don't know, nobody knows which one I'm talking about. In every team, there's always that honeymoon stage where there's the forming, but then very quickly thereafter, there's the storming, and you got to decide whether or not you're going to persevere through that storming phase to where you could start norming and then really, hopefully, performing. And eventually at the end of there's always an end of every team, and there's the adjourning stage. So again, that's forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So however, whenever you hit that storming phase, it's your opportunity to assess whoever it is that you're working with. And that storming phase, it brings out your character, but it also brings out theirs. And so I was working with one particular customer, and that customer was straight up farming people. So whenever we hit our storming phase, it was specifically because it became clear that I gotta tell a little bit of backstory here. There is one particular colleague that was working with this client. This colleague had worked for over 2 years on a project, and had worked and worked and worked. And whenever I saw this person's work, I was amazed by it and said, "Wow, this is good stuff," and support it in minor ways, but really felt like this person was doing an amazing job. I don't think that other people realized how big of a deal what she was working on was. It was essentially the value stream for every person in the company, and it would affect every single person in the company. And it would everyone would be affected by this for years to come. Such a massive thing that it just seemed like, oh, she was just doing this simple project. And so she works on this thing for 2 years. By the end of it, mapping out a human capital stream. So this affected, I mean, everyone. Everyone was affected. This got presented to the manager, the training manager. Then it got, they went together and presented this to their boss, the director. Then it went to the this vice president. So it went 3 levels up, and this person was about to go and take it to the C-suite. Normally, what happens is that vice president would take it to the C-suite, and for the first time ever, this person said in the meeting, "I'm not going to be able to do this justice. This is really, really, really good. We want you," and looking at that particular individual that had done all this work for the past 2 years, "We want you to go present this." So what a great deal, right? What an honor. It's the first time that's ever happened. Everyone on the team was super excited for this person, and we celebrated that achievement. However, the manager says, "Mine," and basically formed the project, and then took it and said, "Oh, I'm the one that's going to now go and present this to the C-suite. I'm the one that's going to go and talk to the people about this." And so the whenever this person complained about that situation, the manager told this person that it was specifically because of this person's demeanor and qualities of that person that they would not, that the vice president said, "No, we don't actually want this person doing it." And so I took great umbrage with this. And so I talked to the person about it. I talked to the manager. Found out what was really going on, talked to other people about it, found out that it was a way of business, specifically because of the incentives that were set up there, where only certain high performing people got the little like $1,200 little, little with a little poster, a little certificate with $1,200 bonus, and yay, you got the little certificate with the $1,200 bonus. People would fight each other over that and steal people's stuff, people's work, take credit for it. And that was the culture that was there. And so this manager was just like, "Mine." And I took great offense with this and went ahead and talked to the vice president. And of course, like, whenever you do such a thing, if you talk truth to power, you either make them laugh or be ready to die. And so I was willing to fall on my sword for this because I wasn't willing to work in that environment. And so I said, I tried to make things better. I tried to do things in a way that made things better. Instead, I just burned my bridges with that particular customer. I don't like, that. I don't want to do that. However, I felt like, and I still feel like, it was absolutely the right thing to do. You don't treat people that way. You don't treat people that way. And so there have been many occasions, even recently, like I've had some not so long ago, where I've had to stand my ground and tell people, no, no, you will not, under any uncertain terms, treat me that way. And because of those boundaries and because of those stands that I've taken, it's been, on one hand, difficult because I've lost great jobs, I've lost great opportunities, but on the other hand, on the other side of that, there's always something better. So far, my whole life, every single time I push through, there's always something better that I would never even have thought of. Always waiting just on the other side. Just got to hold on and push through. And then what do you know? That awesome thing is happening right on the other side. So, you know, but it's never because the grass is greener on some other project. It's never because it's the next thing that it's going to be good on. And so I just challenge any teachers that are thinking about leaving the teaching profession and thinking that, oh no, the teaching, I miss summers, man. Are you kidding me? I miss summers. I miss those fall vacations. The time off. And yeah, I wrote my first book. The first draft of my first book, I was only able to finish because I had those 3 months during the summer off and no kids at the time. So, any rate, there's a lot to be grateful for. I'm not looking back, right? I'm looking straight ahead and charging forward. However, I challenge teachers that are thinking about leaving the teaching profession to really consider where they're at, why they want to make a move. Like I said on the video before, had I known about instructional systems design, had I even known about the field, that's immediately what I would have left the Navy to go do. Absolutely, 100%. This is the purpose of my life. This is my purpose in life is to help people learn complex systems, and to help people be better at their jobs. That's what I do. That's what I'm meant to do. So it was the right thing for me to do because of the stance that I've taken along the way. I've been rewarded for it. But it's never been easy, and it will never get easy. Life is hard. You just got to choose your hard. And I just encourage you to choose your hard and to do the good work that is before you, whether that be to leave the teaching profession, and that's the right thing for you to do, or to stay the course, do the next right thing, stay for those kids, do what you need to do in order to help. If that's your purpose in life, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret leaving. Those kids need you because that's your purpose. But you got to search your own heart. You got to know what's right for you. Don't do it half-heartedly, and don't look back. Whatever your decision is, don't do it half-heartedly and don't look back. Such is my advice. I wish you the best of luck, whatever you're doing. Please consider me a resource to help you in whatever I could do to help. Let me know if you have any comments or questions, and I look forward to growing and learning with you in every good way. All the best.